it does. Welcome into Friday's edition of The Big Show on your total sports station, KTGR. It's Andy Humphrey here. Brendan Schaefer will be along soon. Zach Bush today, as you know, big gig with the Cardinals. He writes for them for MLB.com now. And so with the Cardinals hosting the Red Sox today, Brendan will be joining us from Busch Stadium when he gets a chance to. And that will be coming up very soon. Don't you worry. We will still truck on here as we talk some Cardinals a little bit later on. They take on the White Sox at Busch. We'll talk a little bit of Royals. Man, things are not looking all that great. Lost the White Sox yesterday, 2-0. Probably shouldn't do that. But big news for Mizzou football today when it comes to their schedule and a new window that they'll be playing in for their border war rivalry against Kansas. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. And we'll have Rob Veno on at 4:25 to talk some NBA playoffs as that gets underway very soon. Play-in tournament next week. We'll get Robbie's thoughts on the playoff picture coming up in just a little bit at 4:25. If you want to join us, 875-KTGR is how you do so. You can also leave a comment on YouTube and on Facebook where we're live right now. You can see the show, and you'll see both Brendan and myself once Brendan is able to join from Busch Stadium. So get your comments in, get your texts in, but let's get to this first.
Now, the Big Show's Big Deal.
Not all that surprising, but very notable that Mizzou is going to be playing in this window that Kansas is hosting the border war this year in football, and that game's going to be played on that Friday night. It's on September 11th. Was originally scheduled for September 12th in Lawrence, but they're going to have a Friday night game, which has been a big push from the Big 12 recently to be in that Friday night window during the regular season. They've also moved their Big 12 championship game to that Friday night of that first weekend of December. So they're trying to utilize that window as much as possible, and it seems that Kansas's game against Mizzou is one they want to rope in try and build up that Friday night reputation. So Mizzou fans, how do you feel about this game being moved off of Saturday? That's the Big Show's Big Deal on this 10th day of April 2026. You can call or text us at 875-KTGR. I'm a little conflicted about it. I mean, I do appreciate that we get to see a few of these games in standalone windows, that it won't be buried against other games that are happening Saturday. And there are some big ones that are happening across the country that now you can enjoy those if you're just a fan of college football that is mostly a Mizzou fan, but you like to watch the other games and the other high-profile matchups. You get more of a chance to do so by having your Saturday be open. I've liked in the past Mizzou moving their first game of the year against their FCS opponent to Thursday. Get that out of the way and let everyone get to Labor Day weekend. Not a bad way to start out the year. Give yourself a little extra time for your game next week, which has been Kansas the last couple of years. But this isn't just moving an FCS game to Thursday and that, fine, whatever. You can enjoy your Saturday and Sunday. This is, some say, the most important game of the year. I mean, look, Mizzou's in a different conference now, but look, beating Kansas is meaningful. Well, let's not downplay that at all. This is one of the more meaningful games on the schedule, no matter how good Mizzou is or how good Kansas is. There's a game you want to win. It's important. And now it's in this window that essentially the Big 12 is dictating, right? Like this, they have several games that they have placed on Friday night and even on Thursday night this year, I believe, trying to get some of their more higher profile matchups into a different window so that they can build up some of that traction. So it's something that is more beneficial, I think, to them. And it's not, I don't think it's a Kansas initiated type of change. I think it's a league initiated type change, even though both of their sets of benefits are aligned with this type of move, getting it to Friday, which essentially locks in a night game. And like however you feel about night games versus day games. I mean, I could give or take either, but fans want to be there at night. It feels a little different. So Kansas, I'm sure, is just fine with like, hey, let's lock in a night game. Let's make sure that we don't leave it up to chance with what our league might decide with this game going up against some of the other matchups on Saturday. And the league obviously was happy to do so. And by the way, in the Big 12 that week, this is probably the game that makes the most sense for them to move to Friday, because there are several of their teams that are facing FCS, facing, lower FBS teams, not very many Power 4 versus Power 4 matchups in the Big 12, and not as many that are home games for the Big 12. Those would be the only ones that they can control to move to Friday if they wanted to. This is one of the select few of those that they do control, and so they're going to do that. I just feel that, man, I have nothing against Friday nights. I'm fine with college football games occasionally being there, but man, I'm a sucker for the high school game, and I hate when attentions for Mizzou fans that also like their high school teams now get divided because there's an ultra important college football game, an ultra important Mizzou game now on that Friday night. And I know there will be more Friday nights, and this is not the only this is the only game that Mizzou will have on Friday night this year, we believe. But, man, it's kind of that larger conversation that I think the Big 12 obviously has to kind of reckon with a little bit as they venture into this world of trying to dominate Friday nights in their window. And it brings me back to what there was an argument between Texas Tech booster Cody Campbell and Big 12 Commissioner Brett Yormark about this very thing, about being on Friday nights. And Cody Campbell was on the side of, look, like, let's not mess with high school football. Like, that's for them. Let's make sure we don't have as many Friday nights that we're trying to build up. And then there was that back and forth, like, who really controls the Big 12? And that was what Yormark's argument was. And Cody Campbell was trying to push back at that, threatening to bring back the tortillas at the Big 12 banned that tradition in Lubbock. But, I mean, this is more aligned with what the Big 12 wants to do. It ultimately is not going to affect the outcome of the game, I think. Maybe it helps Kansas a little bit to allow for their fans to get a night game no matter what. And it's essentially the weekend. Like, this is not the same kind of conundrum that Mizzou fans might have with the Thursday that they're trying to deal with to start out the year the last few seasons, where you're trying to take off that week to make sure you get to the game. Or not that week, but maybe that day in the middle of the week to make sure you can head out to Faurot Field if you don't live in mid-Missouri. Might be a little more difficult for you. This might still be a bit of an obstacle, but a little easier that it's a Friday, right? You can maybe leave work a little earlier if you want to, and then still have time potentially to get out to Lawrence if you're looking to have that type of trip and be in that atmosphere. But I think all in all, Kansas probably likes this a little better than Mizzou does. I do wonder what Mizzou fans think about this. Call or text us at 875-KTGR. I imagine if you were going to just watch the game from home anyway, you're fine with it. Like, just now that it's on a Friday night, and I wasn't really doing anything on Friday night anyway. I was planning on it to be Saturday, and that was what I was devoting my whole Saturday to. Now I get to watch more college football on Saturday for some of the high-profile games. Like, I think Ohio State, Texas is once again that weekend. So, like, if you were just planning on that, I understand, like, okay, cool. Now I can, kind of the same deal as the week before, get that game over with, and now we can add this. But getting the game over with is easier to say with a game like Arkansas Pine Bluff. This is Kansas, right? Like, this one is ultra important to the every Mizzou fan, right? And so I wonder how you feel about that type of game being moved and essentially at the bidding of the opponent. Like, it's not, I'm sure Mizzou had to sign off on something, like they were given a heads up, and it's like, okay, cool. We're good with it. But clearly it's initiated by the Big 12 and by Kansas. And so I wonder how people feel about that in Mizzou land because of that situation. Whether the benefits that the Big 12 saw with trying to move that game to that window, it obviously is a benefit to them financially, and that's ultimately what they care about. I'm sure Kansas also doesn't mind that it helps them out a little bit with how they might try to get some sort of advantage from it. But call or text us with what you think. The Mizzou-Kansas game for football moved off of the Saturday, September 12th, and moved to that Friday instead on the 11th. We don't know the time yet, but we'd have to imagine that it's going to be a night game. Call or text us with what you think, 573-875-KTGR. Let's go out to the KTGR hotline here. Hello, who's this?
Oh, hi, this is Sean.
Sean, you're on the big show. What you got, my friend?
Yeah, you can't look at it from any other perspective than to say they're afraid of our fan base. I mean, if you look at it as far as traveling to Lawrence on a Saturday versus a Friday night, you're probably looking at a significant portion of Mizzou fans that won't be able to make the drive anyway.
It seems that way. I mean, it's probably not the only reason why it was made. Appreciate the call, though, Sean, here on the big show. Kansas doesn't necessarily get in the way of the Big 12 wanting that game to be moved on Friday because they know of that benefit. Like, again, I think it is more driven by what the Big 12 wants to do with their games on TV. But Kansas would, like, when they see that, they're like, all right, we'll go along with that. And Mizzou, since they don't control the game, SEC doesn't control the game, they kind of have to go along with it a little bit. So, I mean, it's not to say that they weren't given a heads up beforehand, like, hey, this is what's happening. But ultimately, the Big 12 was going to do what they wanted to do with this game. And I don't necessarily blame them for that. I think we can't acknowledge, though, that Mizzou, it's not an insurmountable obstacle, but a little bit of one for their fan base. Because, again, you're probably needing to make other plans for that Friday that you weren't planning necessarily to have otherwise. You got to move them up a day. If you'd already made a hotel reservation in Lawrence for that Saturday and you go, oops, nope, Friday night, sorry. Got to move that up a bit. The logistics part of it is something that Mizzou fans probably are not all that fond of here. And yeah, the driving part, it's not terribly far, obviously. But again, on a weekday, it does kind of eat into your day a little bit. So for that fan, the Mizzou fan that was hoping to go to Lawrence, a place that Mizzou football has not played in since 2005. So you're probably like, okay, let me go to the first one since then in this place. You know, had made some stadium updates, probably a nice facility, everything like that, whatever. But now you're kind of looking at it saying, Friday, now I got to see if I can take off work that day. Maybe a little bit tougher. Again, I'm not necessarily going to say hugely bad on the Mizzou front because I still think with the team they've got and with the team that Kansas has got, no matter where the game's played, Mizzou should win. They should. They should absolutely win this game. They should expect to win it. If they don't win it, it's going to be hard to scrape together enough wins even to be bowl eligible, you'd have to think. Because you got a 9-game SEC schedule now. So, from that angle, not a huge deal if you ask me. But for Mizzou fans, not going to be the easiest thing if you wanted to go to the game. And I do think it's a conversation that needs to be had. Now, Friday night college football, whether it is growing enough to the point where it becomes a regular thing for multiple leagues. I know the ACC has done that for several years now, trying to picture some of their games in that window. Big 12 is starting to jump into that front at the same time. And now building it up with games like this one. Again, as someone who loves to also cover high school football, and there's some great teams to cover here in Missouri, obviously. Like I'm kind of like, let's be careful about how we do this here too. Let's not absolutely blow out each potential college football window at the expense of some of these high school games that, look, are also meaningful to people. I do kind of come from that sense a little bit. And it's why I was a little conflicted siding with Cody Campbell on his argument with Brett Yormark on this. They were kind of having a back and forth on Twitter about it. Because if you ask me, I'd rather the people like Cody Campbell not be the ones that are running college football, because they're not doing it for everybody's interest. They're doing it for their own interests, and they're throwing about their clout with the pocketbook that they have and saying that should be all the power that I need to run this show. Like, I would rather that not be the person that runs things down the line. But I agree with Cody Campbell's stance on this. And he's coming from a spot in where he's obviously from Texas. He's the big donor for Texas Tech, and high school football's a huge deal over in Texas. Like, you might not even have a clear idea as to how big of a deal it is. Just to put it in perspective, there's a small town, I think near Lubbock, somewhere in West Texas, something like that. Population of just over 1,000 people. There's a high school there, just one high school. Enrollment for the high school is about 120, 125 or so. That school is planning to build a $21 million indoor practice facility for the football team. That's the population 1,000. School's got 125 kids. They apparently need a $21 million high school football indoor practice facility. That isn't even a full field, by the way. Those small towns are putting that type of money in for high school football. Like it certainly matters there, but even if it matters to an outrageous degree in that state, it doesn't mean that it shouldn't matter elsewhere, because it absolutely does matter in other states, including this one. And so I do want to put the brakes a little bit on a lot of leagues trying to jump into that Friday night window and maybe escape a little bit from the clutterness that can come from Saturday and trying to get the most eyeballs on their games, because it can kind of cut into that high school football window too. Those games mostly are not on TV. I get it. They're not making huge dollars, but let's not hugely divide our attention either from that level of the game, which ultimately does feed into the game that all of us love, college football, and then onto that, the NFL. Like, we should support this at all levels of the game. And I think everyone being in their lane helps the most with that. Now, I understand that leagues want to also maximize their dollars at the college level, and the Big 12 is trying to be innovative, trying to do whatever they can to get to the same level as the Big 10 and the SEC, even though I don't think that'll ever happen. But they have to at least try, right? They got to do new things that are different from what those two leagues do in order to stay ahead of the game in the ever-changing landscape of college sports. But man, it's that part, the high school angle part of it, that I get a little antsy about. And then, of course, like, Mizzou gets kind of roped into this a little bit, likely without much of a choice, because it's the Big Ten's game, or not the Big Ten, the Big 12's game. They control it, and Kansas controls it, and they can decide what when the game essentially is, along with the TV networks. And this kind of makes it a little easier for said TV networks to have it be in a spot where they want it to be. So it gives them a primetime window, which Kansas fans, I'm sure, will be excited about. And maybe because they're excited, maybe that means the Mizzou fans, certainly the ones that were trying to get to the game, maybe aren't as much. But again, if you're just the consumer and you're just the Mizzou fan that likes to watch Mizzou's game, but also keep tabs on the other big games of the weekend, you're probably like, yeah, okay. Wasn't planning on being anywhere Friday night anyway. Let's just, watch the game here. We can knock this out, beat Kansas, and then enjoy the rest of our Saturday and Sunday, because the NFL will be starting that weekend too. So there you go. But not all Mizzou fans are created equal, right? I do kind of sympathize a little bit with the fans that want to get out there and maybe try and take away from some of the environment that Kansas is trying to create and get as many seats as possible so that they can create that road support that can blunt some of that blow. Although, if it was anything like the first game here last September, I mean, a slightly, I would say it was about 20% Kansas fans. That would be generous, I think. Maybe less than that, mostly. I would expect something similar when it comes to this game. So for me, I'm looking at it as there would probably be a good amount of Mizzou fans there anyway. Maybe not that different of a number had the game had been sticking on Saturday. I don't know if it changes it all that much, because maybe Friday works out a little bit better for some Mizzou fans and they're able to hop on in and get those tickets themselves. We'll see. For me, though, I feel antsy about it. I feel conflicted about it, mainly because we're splitting our attention also from a high school window as well. And maybe that's a little too personal, but like I do enjoy seeing these high school games too. And we've got some great teams here in Missouri that want to show out themselves. And now Mizzou fans who were looking forward to that particular Friday night now maybe have to split their attention away. So that's maybe the downside to it also. I'm not as happy to be on the side of Cody Campbell when it comes to that, but sometimes what was that Onion headline? Sometimes the worst person you know made a great point. It's kind of how I feel with that situation there with Cody Campbell. Call or text us here, 875-KTGR. Give us a call or text. Mizzou, Kansas, now on Friday night, September 11th, no longer on that Saturday. That's week 2 of the college football season. So Mizzou will open the season on a Thursday night, then play their next game on a Friday night, and then their first Saturday game of the year will be week 3 when they host Troy, and then conference play begins. So we'll see how Mizzou is able to handle that staggered scheduling into the 2026 season. Call or text us here at 875-KTGR here on The Big Show if you want to weigh in on that schedule change that was announced earlier today by the Big 12. Brendan will be joining us from Busch Stadium a little later on in the show as we'll talk some Cardinals at 5:05. Can Dustin May, I said Dusty May, didn't I? Dusty May has had a much better week than Dustin May of the Cardinals has had. Can Dustin May settle down after 2 rough starts to begin his Cardinals tenure? We'll get to that at 5:05. But up next, NBA play-in tournament begins next week. We'll ask Rob Veno of WagerTalk.com his expectations going into the NBA playoffs as he joins us next year on The Big Show, KTGR.
Follow The Big Show on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And keep it here on your total sports station, KTGR.
Hi, everyone. Andy Humphrey here for Lee's Tire Company, coming out of the really cold weather periods, and you're thinking about the road trips that you want to take this spring and summer. Don't forget about checking up on your tires, though. Make sure that they are in good shape for those long road trips, and head into Lee's Tire Company because they're the tire experts. They've got a huge selection, and they have so many ways to give you money back in your pocket whenever you buy new tires, including this month when they give you $140 back on select sets of 4 Cooper tires or $180 back on select Goodyear tires. There are so many other deals that they run each and every month. You can find them at leestirecompany.com. You can also go there to browse their full selection, put your specs in, see what they've got available to you, and then head into Lee's Tire Company on the Business Loop in Columbia or at University Garage by the MU campus or their location in Centralia. If it's round and rubber, Lee's sells it. Go to leestirecompany.com.
If you're craving something delicious, find your way to the Pasta Factory, where everything's made from scratch daily. Their fresh sauces, cakes, quiche, dressings, and soups are sure to tantalize your taste buds. And all pasta entrees are cooked, baked, and tossed to order. Don't leave without sampling those homemade desserts, lovingly crafted by Jason and Rob. Good. The Pasta Factory. Visit them at 3103 West Broadway Business Park, right in front of Walmart. Celebrating 50 years in business. The Pasta Factory, where fresh meets flavor.
Meet Morgan Jones. Morgan is about to step into a world unknown to most, thanks to Progressive's Renters Insurance, a place of fresh linens and turn-down service. You see, Morgan temporarily vacated her apartment and has gone to a hotel because a pipe burst in her apartment. A pipe that made her sense of reality and apartment ceiling all come crashing down. Luckily, Morgan checked into Progressive's Protection Zone. Get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers.
The problem with radio is we can't show you our new box packed with a KFC snacker, 5 nuggets, fries, and a drink for just $7. So you'll just have to trust us when we say the crispy golden fried breading will make your mouth water. You'll have to trust us when we say this is a ridiculous amount of chicken for such a small price. And you'll have to really trust us when we insist that, yes, it really is only $7. $7 box feast from KFC. Trust us. It's finger-licking good.
Prices and participation may vary. Tax, tips, and fees extra.
It's one day only, and it's all about soon-to-be mommies and babies. The Minmo Baby Expo, presented by Boone Health, is an exciting event that will showcase all things baby, all bundled up at the Courtyard by Marriott. Saturday, June 6th from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. From diapers and daycares for baby to essential oils and massages for mom. If your business markets to moms or to babies, we want you. Limited booth space available. For more info, visit MinmoBabyExpo.com. It's the Minmo Baby Expo, Saturday, June 6th.
Step into a real-life snow globe with Zimmer Communications and Colette Travel on this 9-day European Christmas vacation. Stroll through Prague, Dresden, Vienna, and Budapest. From castles and cathedrals to twinkling Christmas market stalls. Sip warm Glühwein. Shop handcrafted gifts. And even visit a family-run candy workshop. There's still time to experience this trip of a lifetime. Save up to $350 when you book before June 7th. Learn more and reserve your spot today at ZimmerCommunications.com. The best local sports talk around on your ride home. You've got The Big Show on KTGR.
We're back here on The Big Show, KTGR and the KTGR app. Andy and Brendan here as we look towards basketball, and no, not as much the college anymore, but towards the NBA as the playoffs will begin very soon. Play-in tournament next week. Then soon after that, the first round series will begin. And we know that Rob Veno is locked in. He of WagerTalk.com. He joins us now on the KTGR hotline. He's on Twitter at Rob Veno Sports. And go and check out their great betting info over at WagerTalk.com. And so, Robbie, first off, national championship, I guess that when you look at the body of work of Michigan, it's not a real surprise that they were able to put together the Final Four showing that they did and then finishing the job against UConn. But how'd you kind of see it play out as Michigan really did turn on the Jets here late?
Interesting with Michigan, right? They're clearly the best team in the nation at season's end. They're not a team in my industry that you would have made a lot of money with this year because they were so overpriced, including the national championship game where they laid 7 points and only won by 6. That seemed to be the way. for that team throughout most of the Big Ten conference season. Early on, they caught people by surprise, but once odds makers made the adjustment, it seemed like you were just paying that little extra tax on Michigan. So, from a straight up wins perspective and from a team perspective, they were certainly, in the end, the most deserving and the clear number one team. They just weren't the most profitable team. I thought UConn played them as good as they could, guys. Dan Hurley got the game to be played the way he wanted it, kind of in that 60s range. See if we can make enough shots to maybe upset these guys, muck it up a little bit, which was definitely the case when you look at the three-point shooting numbers in that one. Nobody shot it well. Michigan, I think, was only 2 of 15 in that game and still won. So, Connecticut probably did as well as they could to get this far and as well as they could in that title game. But in the end, credit to Dusty May, credit to Michigan. They were the best team.
And they seem to be off to a good start reloading for next year, too, already in the transfer portal. So lots still to be sorted out as to who might be the favorite next year because the rosters change over so much. But certainly Michigan showing why they were the best this time around. Let's turn our page to the NBA here, Robbie. It's a year where we have known who the playoff and play-in teams are going to be for the last couple of weeks. It's just been that kind of year, and that's obviously a conversation around tanking and everything like that. But as you've kind of viewed the picture of who has emerged as some of these teams that you would really want to be backing at this time of year, as far as who's playing the best at the moment, how have you kind of evaluated it and seen who might be an interesting pick to advance far in the playoffs this time around?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, Andy, because we're probably going to see completely different looks of these basketball teams once the playoffs start. I mean, the regular season has become so disingenuous, so phony, so to speak, in the results night in and night out, people not playing, teams not caring, etc., that you don't get a true look at what these teams are. I would say, for the most part, teams that have showed their hand and will be formidable in the playoffs, that have shown their hand all season long. The Detroit Pistons have played every game like it was a playoff game. Certainly they're going to be a tough out. Oklahoma City and San Antonio on the other side, every game as if it was their last. They're going to be good as well. I think Denver, once they figured out that they may not even be a top 4 team, all of a sudden turned on the Jets at the end of the year. Denver shows us they're still one of those teams. And then there's some surrounding pieces. I don't know how good the Knicks can be. I honestly don't know how good the Cleveland Cavaliers can be with this James Harden move. There's still some questions to be answered, but I think you're going to see really, really competitive series. A lot of these teams, personnel-wise, up and down, 1 through 8, 1 through 9, are honestly quite equal. And so we'll see the play-in games first, but then when these playoff series start to take place, there's still some jockeying going on, even as late as tonight. I feel like Cleveland really wants no part of that number 3 seed, even though they're only a game behind the Knicks. Cleveland trying somewhat to avoid Boston being in Boston's bracket. They're 0-3 against them this year. So you may see Cleveland kind of, just go through the motions tonight against Atlanta. There's still some of that stuff going on. But Sunday will conclude it, and then we'll get on to real basketball, where it's a lot easier to handicap the constants than it is this massive amount of variables that we've been trying to handicap all year long.
Yeah, once everyone starts trying, it gets a little bit easier, for sure. Rob Veno of WagerTalk.com here on the Big Show, KTGR, and the KTGR app. We'll get to some of that jockeying for position a little bit here too, Robbie. But I'm also interested in your take on a team like San Antonio that just makes this meteoric rise. Obviously, Wembanyama being one of the better players in the league already, and the way that whole roster has kind of come together and put together a 60-win team. When they're challenging someone like OKC towards the end, even though OKC is going to have that top spot, when San Antonio is there and we see them in these types of series, what info are you looking for when they get into this setting and they eventually do have to get into that mentality of advancing in the playoffs when some of those players may be there for the first time?
Yeah, you might hold experience against them, playoff experience, Andy, and I think that'll be the major knock. Anybody that, figures maybe they wouldn't win the West, that would be the real concern, that they haven't been there before. But I would say, boy, this roster, and give them credit for pushing OKC. Like, OKC couldn't stop playing. They couldn't put the brakes on 10 games ago, like maybe they should have with a 64-16 record. But San Antonio, as constructed right now, they're as deep, and I won't even just say deep. I'll say they're loaded with quality depth, 1 through 10. Like, their parts are so interchangeable, so athletic. And, of course, like you said, they have the one main cog in Victor Wembanyama, but they surround him with defensive parts, with scoring parts. Stephon Castle, the ex-UConn guard, has honestly made his way a giant leap toward being one of the, I don't know, maybe you'd call them second team or third team all-stars inside the NBA. So I think they have every possibility of beating Oklahoma City. And to be honest with you, they beat Oklahoma City to start the season 2-3 times. I remember back into the play-in tournament where Oklahoma City had a revenge angle on San Antonio and still couldn't beat them. So there's no gimme for OKC in that West. I think Denver probably lacks the defense to get their way all the way through this unless there's some injury concern. And as we know, these playoffs run for 6 or 7 weeks, and injuries do happen inside the playoffs every year. So somebody's fortunes could go down the drain immediately inside this playoff race. But to your point, I think San Antonio's got as good a chance as anybody to win the West and potentially win the whole thing.
Rob Veno of WagerTalk.com here on the Big Show KTGR and the KTGR app. Now, I'm kind of intrigued as to a game that's happening tonight. And again, we talk about jockeying for position, how valuable it might be between the Clippers and the Trailblazers, who are 8 and 9 respectively. They're a game separated by each other. And again, 2 games left for everybody in the league. But with those teams a game apart, and whoever finishes in front of whom is the difference between the 7-8 game and the 9-10 game. And so how important do you think that advantage could be as they're playing this game tonight and then eventually could be playing each other again next week at some point in the play-in tournament?
If you were going to split hairs, it's more important to Portland. Their home record this year, better than their road record. Their record as a home underdog, really good. And I would imagine if they were home in this game, if they were to get the 8 seed and then play the Clippers, they would be probably a small underdog. Just as tonight, they're actually a little bit of a favorite. But that's a role that they've been really good in. I think it's more important to them. But all that said, I think it's very important to the Clippers as well. The Clippers have proven nothing to this point. You know, it's a team that tried to shift gears at the trade deadline, made those trades. Ty Lue decided that they didn't want to be a methodical offense anymore, so they got rid of James Harden and got rid of Zubac and brought in Darius Garland and changed their whole philosophy to speeding up tempo. And so they had about 20 games, 25 games to work that out. They all haven't been healthy at the same time, so they haven't had the full 25 games, but LA is still a work in progress. So home floor to them, I think, extremely important as well. We see this game tonight. Portland opens up a 2-point favorite. Game has been bet down in most places to 1.5. So a little bit of Clipper money and a little bit of money toward the total here, going over 225.5 up to 226.5. Doesn't really suggest playoff atmosphere when you're seeing money go towards over, but I think it's more reflective of Los Angeles's willingness to run now at this point in time.
Yeah, that could be interesting how that one plays out so close to the play-in tournament, with both of them knowing they're in that phase, but just don't know which game they'll be playing in just yet. So we'll see how that one plays out. Rob Veno of WagerTalk.com here on The Big Show. Robbie, what free pick do you like out of everything this weekend that you want to make folks happy with?
I tell you what, tonight I like the Hawks, guys. Now the price has risen. You can still find 7.5s out there. I happened to play them last night, overnight at -6.5 in anticipation of an upward line move here. I said earlier, I don't think the Cavs are very interested in being the number 3 seed. They've actually alternated nights within the last 10 days where they'll rest their bigs, Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, and let the guards play. And then the next night they'll rest the guards and let the bigs play. Wednesday night, I think, was their playoff kind of primer. They played Atlanta 2 nights ago at home, played hard, won the game 122-116. Now we see the same matchup, different venue. Atlanta's still scraping for that number 5 seed against Toronto. They're in a deadlock, so Atlanta needs wins. I think the Hawks are probably the right side here, guys. The number's moved up to 7.5. I think rightfully so. I'll leave you with one last number here really quick. The Hawks, last 14 home games, they're 13-1 straight up. All 13 have been by double digits. The wins have all been by 10+. So pretty comfortable laying it with Atlanta here tonight.
That should be fun to see, too, and that's why Rob Veno's the best. Great to have him here on The Big Show, KTGR and the KTGR app, on Twitter at Rob Veno Sports, and go and check out all the great betting info over at wagertalk.com right before the start of the NBA playoffs. Robbie, great stuff as always. Thanks for coming on The Big Show. Have a great weekend. We'll talk soon.
Always a pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me. Take care.
You bet. It is 4:43 here on The Big Show, KTGR and the KTGR app. Excuse me. That's fascinating. Tonight, 9 p.m. tip between the Clippers and Blazers. Blazers are a game back as the 9 seed. Clippers are the 8. I'm not sure who has the tiebreaker there, but it's interesting to see because both of them know that they're in the play-in tournament, but I would think that it's pretty valuable to be in that 7-8 versus the 9-10 because not only do you get a little bit of cover if you lose that 7-8 game, you're not completely out of it, but you also get a home game for the 8, not the last play-in game, essentially, the battle for the 8 seed, getting a chance to face the 1. So you would get to host whoever is the winner of that 9-10. So I don't think the Blazers probably go for that. And then both teams have kind of an easy game to close it out on Sunday. We'll see how it all shakes out for the play-in tournament next week. The NBA playoffs get underway very soon. Going under the bus next, it has not been a great start to the year for the Mariners. Maybe their statue reveal for Ichiro Suzuki was indicative of their start. That's next.
Now, your local Sports Center update on your total sports station, KTGR.
Good afternoon. I'm Andy Humphrey. This Sports Center update is with Lee's Tire Company. If it's round and rubber, Lee sells it. Go to leestirecompany.com. The Mizzou football game at Kansas has been moved to Friday night. It was originally scheduled for Saturday, September 12th, but now will be played on that Friday before in Lawrence, Kansas. Time of the game still TBD, but the Big 12 announcing the date change today. This will be the first trip for Mizzou football to Lawrence, Kansas since 2005. It'll also be their second game on a weekday this season. Tigers open the year Thursday, September 3rd, hosting Arkansas Pine Bluff. Cardinals are in action tonight, hosting the Red Sox at Busch Stadium. Dustin May will get the start. He's 0-2 with an inflated 16 ERA heading into this one. Not been a good couple of first 2 starts for May, but he'll try to right the ship as the Cardinals take on the Red Sox tonight. First pitch, 7:15. You can hear it on 100.5 FM. Royals lost to the White Sox yesterday, 2-0. They'll play them again at 6:40. And Mizzou baseball lost yesterday to South Carolina. They'll try to even up the series in Game 2 at Taylor Stadium tonight at 6 o'clock. You can hear it on KTGR. Your ABC 17 Storm Track forecast is with the Boone County Office of Emergency Management, reminding you to be Boone County ready. Visit ready.boonemo.gov.
Tracking cool temperatures tonight down in the 50s, but we're mostly dry through early Saturday. A few scattered showers are possible tomorrow with some dry time on Saturday. Sunday is a bit wetter with a round of showers midday. Temperatures are warmer this weekend in the 70s. We jump to the 80s by early next week. Monday through Wednesday, weather alert days with severe storms possible each day, especially by the middle of the week. I'm meteorologist Nate Splater, and that's your ABC 17 Storm Track forecast on your total sports station, KTGR.
Midway Electric presents the High School Sports Power Player of the Week.
This week features Hickman senior catcher Landon Durnan. Last week, Landon hit a walk-off RBI double in the 15th inning to help defeat Capital City and hit his first career home run in another victory over Marshall. Landon went 5 for 12 at the plate for the Cupies last week.
That's the Power Player of the Week with Midway Electric, powered by people with pride. MidwayElectricInc.com.
From elegant weddings to corporate lunches with flavor and flair, Courtyard by Marriott Columbia brings the party and the pros. It's the home of main event catering. And with every event, you'll get an award-winning chef, full banquet staff, and drop-and-go options for any size crowd. And the event center holds up to 300 guests with 8 flexible rooms. If you need help, there's a Marriott certified wedding coordinator on staff too. Book now by calling 573-443-8000.
Shangri-La Dispensaries has always been there for your medicinal and recreational needs. Now they need your vote in Best of Columbia 2026. Voting is open for Inside Columbia's Best of Columbia, and Shangri-La is up for Best Dispensary. You can vote for Shangri-La once a day between now and April 12th. Just go to InsideColumbia.net. Shangri-La would like to thank all their loyal patients and customers for letting them be there for your medicinal and recreational needs. Shangri-La Dispensaries is Paradise Found.
Hey, construction dude, congrats on the killer contract in Cape. Sweet. So, how are you going to get that Mongo crane down to the job site? Here's a haul of an idea. Just Google I-70 Towing. They're Mid-Missouri's go-to crew for heavy equipment hauling, too. Semis, dozers, RVs, goosenecks, farm and construction stuff, school buses, boats, bring it. If you use it, they can move it. Call the team they think you'll really love to meet. I70towing.com. Goosenecks. Give me some long necks.
The nominations are in. Now it's time to pick the winners. This is the final week to decide the winners for Inside Columbia Magazine's Best of Columbia 2026. Vote up to once per day for the businesses and places you love, including Best Tattoo Artist, Best Plumbing Company, Best Barbecue, Best Realtor, or Best Live Music Venue. This is the final week to vote for the businesses you love most. Best of Columbia 2026 starts with you. Voting ends April 12th at InsideColumbia.net.
My name is Taylor, and I have had insurance with Phyllis Nichols and her team for over 9 years. One of our early claims we had to make, unfortunately, was from a hailstorm. And as soon as that first hail hit our house, I texted Phyllis and I said, oh boy, we're in trouble. Phyllis walked us through everything, made everything very seamless. Phyllis made it so easy. Her team followed up, checked in, and really went to bat for us. When things weren't moving properly, she would make sure that everything was accounted for, and she really just did an above and beyond job for us and everyone we refer to.
Back to more of the biggest sports stories in mid-Missouri. You've got The Big Show on the KTGR app.
Ichiro Suzuki got a statue today in front of, what is it, T-Mobile Park? I always just remember it as Safeco. But anyway, obviously deserving of a statue in front of Seattle's baseball stadium. And they had a big reveal today. But unfortunately, that reveal was a little bit overshadowed by the fact that the statue kind of broke as they were taking off the sheet. They counted down, and a group of people were taking the sheet off. As they were taking it off, it's a statue of Ichiro's batting stance, and he famously would point the bat forward. I mean, the bat would be pointing up, but he would point it out towards the mound in kind of his signature, like, I'm ready for the pitch type of stance. And the bat snapped. It's in his hand, the statue's hand. It kind of snapped and was kind of just hanging there, dangling in its broken state as the statue was being revealed. And Ichiro right away, I mean, he got a laugh out of it, obviously, and you can just sort of laugh about these things, all in good fun, but maybe not the best thing. Hey, at least it looked like Ichiro up there, and you don't have like the Dwayne Wade statue reveal where it looks absolutely nothing like him. I mean, if that's the worst thing that can happen in a statue reveal, the bat getting broken or an ancillary piece just not being in place, maybe that's best case scenario for Ichiro Suzuki, especially with how the Mariners have been starting this year. Woof. Not great. Expected to win that division, probably still will, but not off to a good start this year. Either way, the statue for Ichiro Suzuki, yeah, the bat needs some replacing, or at least some super glue on that thing. Onto the bus to Robert McIntyre at the Masters. Yesterday, he had a rough hole on 15. 2 water hazards. Then after the second drop, he overshot the green. He finished with a 9 on that hole, which was quadruple bogey. And it basically tanked his round and tanked his tournament. He's going to miss the cut. But he was seen after one of those shots putting that ball into the water. He gave the bird. He flipped the finger. And I don't think it was directed at anybody in particular. I think he was just upset at the green, of all things. It's kind of how these golfers are. It's the green's fault that the ball's not staying on there. And he flipped that off, it seemed. And it's the Masters. So the folks who are in charge of the Masters, you need to be on your best behavior. And McIntyre clearly wasn't, so it seems that he might get some discipline from that, in addition to not playing well enough to make the cut. Unfortunately, Billy and the producers have Robert McIntyre on their Masters draft team, so that's not going to be great news for them. We'll kind of update our Masters draft coming up a little later on in the show and see how that's going as the second round is almost done. And under the bus also to Philadelphia radio host John Marks. Now, in this business, sometimes we do tend to jump to conclusions. Sometimes it's warranted. Oftentimes it's not. But this host, John Marks, when he saw that Joel Embiid was going to miss a game in Houston because of an illness, and obviously Joel Embiid's reputation over the last few years or so with how many games he's missed due to several injuries or illnesses or whatever it might be, and it's led to fans and maybe media questioning whether he's actually hurt some of the time. And so this radio host said that maybe implied that he was faking it. Well, it turns out Embiid was not faking it. He actually had appendicitis. And he had an appendectomy today in Houston to take care of that. And so this radio host, John Marks, had to post a video on social media apologizing, saying, I feel like an idiot, saying that I thought that Joel Embiid was faking an illness and turned out he had an appendectomy or needed to have one. So he apologized for that. At the same time, like we don't always hear about what the illness is for some of these NBA players. And in this case, we did know. A lot of times we don't. And sometimes that invites a skepticism, and especially when it's a player like Embiid who has missed as much time as he has. But here, yeah, probably shouldn't have jumped to conclusions there for that particular radio host. So, yeah, he goes under the bus there. And he immediately acknowledged that he should have been under the bus for that because he posted the apology afterwards. And I guess we can all move on now, but still not an awesome look from that angle. Yeah, we'll see if Mizzou baseball can even up the series against South Carolina. Lost yesterday, but they'll play again this evening. You can hear the game starting with coverage at 5:45 on KTGR and first pitch at 6 o'clock. And if you're one of the first 300 people through the gates, you get a pretty cool looking t-shirt that Mizzou Athletics has conjured up. Looks like they're having kind of a backyard baseball type theme to it, which is pretty cool. And so it's that kind of inspired font that Mizzou baseball has on this t-shirt here. It looks very cool. We've retweeted it at our Twitter page at KTGR Big Show on Twitter. And it looks pretty slick. For someone nostalgic to backyard baseball like I am, you might enjoy that. Maybe a chance for you to go and snag one of those shirts if you're one of the first 300 fans at Taylor Stadium this evening. as the Tigers get set to take on South Carolina. So another cool promotion over at Taylor Stadium. Of course, they had $2 beers last night. I imagine there will be more initiatives and incentives to enjoy some Mizzou baseball this remaining season. So we'll see what Mizzou baseball can do tonight. Again, tonight at 6 o'clock, and then tomorrow they'll play at 2 against South Carolina. Cardinals baseball tonight you can hear on 100.5 FM KTGR. So as the Cardinals, beg your pardon, get set to take on the Red Sox. We'll talk about the start of that series. Hopefully be joined by Brendan live from Busch Stadium as we get set for that one. Of course, Dustin May has looked pretty awful in his first 2 starts in a Cardinals uniform. Can he settle down here? Is this a spot where he can maybe do so against his former team? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about our Masters draft, what it's looking like right now, and some Mizzou transfer talk next year on The Big Show. KTGR and the KTGR app.
I stopped smoking with Mark Patrick's hypnosis when nothing else worked. 1 year later, my wife Michelle and I attended the Mark Patrick weight loss hypnosis seminar. In 2 months, lost 43 pounds, and she lost 18 pounds. And we feel great.
Hypnosis only $59.99. Thursday, April 23rd at the Capitol Plaza Hotel and Convention Center in Jefferson City. Weight loss hypnosis 5:30 p.m. Stop smoking hypnosis 8 p.m. Or Saturday, April 25th at the Courtyard by Marriott in Columbia. Weight loss hypnosis 11 a.m. Stop smoking hypnosis 2 p.m. Register at markpatrickseminars.com.
Doors have 2 jobs, open and close. Pretty simple. And windows? They're supposed to be clear, not foggy. And they should open and close too. This is Silas Coons with Coons Glass. If you've got doors or windows that are slacking on the job, call us for service work. With 15 service trucks, Coons Glass is the clear choice for commercial or residential. CoonsGlass.com.
Coons Glass, and you can see through it, we do it.
Arbor Day reminds us that trees give us life. Unfortunately, more than 15 billion trees a year are cut down, and you can't grow a mature tree overnight. Advanced Tree Solutions does more than remove. They protect, diagnose, and plant the right way. Help save what matters. Respect your trees and replant right. Call Advanced Tree Solutions and give your trees the care nature intended. Advanced Tree Solutions, your tree's best friend. AdvancedTreeSolutionsLLC.com.
For 2 days only, Betts Jewelers invites you to discover timeless beauty at our Estate Jewelry Show. Join us Friday, April 17th from 9 to 5 and Saturday, April 18th from 9 to 2 and explore an incredible curated collection of fine vintage and estate jewelry from Art Deco and Edwardian to mid-century and retro. Each has been expertly evaluated by a graduate gemologist. Fall in love with history at the Betts Jewelers Estate Jewelry Show.
Beautiful moments begin at Betts. Begin at Betts.
KTGR AM Columbia, KTGR FM Fulton Columbia, K286CL Columbia, in Missouri's total sports station. KTGR. This is SportsCenter.
I'm Ed Bank, and the second round of the Masters is winding down at Augusta. It is still tied atop the leaderboard. Rory McIlroy is on the 15th. He currently has the lead at 8 under, 3 under today. Patrick Reed is 1 stroke back in the leaderboard. He is 4 under for round 2, 7 under for the tournament. Sam Burns and Tommy Fleetwood 2 strokes back. They are at 6 under. This is the final weekend of the NBA's regular season. Joel Embiid has been discharged from the hospital after his appendectomy. There's no timetable for his return, and ESPN's Ramona Shelburne said Embiid may be out for a while.
Look, they're not going to put a timeline on this yet because it's going to depend on how he comes through this and how his initial recovery goes. But generally speaking, appendicitis and surgeries afterwards, we're talking weeks.
The Sixers visit the Pacers later tonight. Baseball, the Pirates win at Wrigley this afternoon. They beat the Cubs 2-0. Pittsburgh now 8-5 in the young season. Sad note from football, former Jets quarterback Brownie Nagel has died after a battle with colon cancer. He was 57 years old. College basketball, according to ESPN's Jeff Borzello, UConn freshman Eric Rybaugh has entered the transfer portal.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Progressive Commercial Insurance flexes to fit your business's needs. From quick repairs to adjustable coverages and even payment options, Progressive Commercial makes it easy to get what you need. Quote today in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com.
From Faroe. 15 to the 10 to the house. Push. Back to the Kansas City! To your speakers. This is the big show, baby. Get fresh takes on the biggest sports stories in mid-Missouri. Right now, this is the Big Show with Andy and Brendan on KTGR.
Second hour here on the Big Show. Thanks for joining us. Andy here. Brendan eventually will join us from Busch Stadium. Cardinals getting set to take on the Red Sox today. And we're going to hear a little bit of what he has to say about Dustin May. Because Dustin May, I was kind of excited about him joining this rotation. So far, hasn't worked out so well. Can he finally put together a start that Cardinal fans would like to see from him? We'll get to that here in a few minutes. We'll get to a Masters update, a Masters draft update, more pertinent to this show. Who's in front there? Sorry to say it, might be Brendan. And we'll get you to Mizzou baseball coverage coming up at 5:45. Tigers set to take on South Carolina this evening in Game 2 of their series. 875-5847. A call or text us. But first, it's 5 o'clock.
It's time for the Top 5 at 5 on The Big Show. Number 1.
If you want to trade away for curtain number 1, you can have curtain 1.
So Mizzou's border war game with Kansas in football is now going to be a Friday game, and most likely Friday night. They haven't announced the time yet, but that's where it's heading in Lawrence. Big 12 controls the game because it's a home game for Kansas, and so they've decided to add it to their long slate of Friday night games that they're going to have within the conference this year. So it's something that Mizzou that kind of gets roped into a little bit. It's not to say they had zero input. They probably needed to give some sort of approval for it, but mainly something that it seems the Big 12 wants to do, and then Kansas certainly won't complain because they most likely get a night game from it. It's maybe a little easier for their fans and a little bit harder for Mizzou fans to get there. So from that angle, not great. If you're a Mizzou fan just watching at home anyway, maybe it's better for you because you get to watch the games on Saturday. But let us know what you think with a call or a text about Mizzou's football game against Kansas now being Friday night in week 2.
Number 2.
Number 2, your timing is impeccable.
So I haven't seen any commitments from the transfer portal for Mizzou men's basketball. We'll see if maybe this weekend that starts to pick up. Let's set an over-under for the number of commits we see. According to the reporting from 24/7 Sports, it seems that Bryson Tiller is going to be at Mizzou visiting this weekend. We'll see if that materializes to anything.
Number 3.
Cardinals get the Red Sox to open up their next homestand, and it's Dustin May who starts out in the first game. It has not been very good for Dustin May. In just 7 innings, he's given up 13 earned runs. Not awesome. Chance to settle down a little bit here against his former team, the Red Sox. 7:15 first pitch from Busch Stadium. You can hear it on 100.5 KTGR. But how can Dustin May start to settle things down? We'll discuss here in a bit.
Number 4.
Oh, shanked it.
Look, the Royals, I think they're better offensively. The results just haven't materialized yet. They're doing more things well, but I just think it's not necessarily turning into them being a feared offense just yet, and certainly not when the White Sox are blanking it 2-0 in Kauffman Stadium. Look, it's still early, but we'll see if they can right the ship the rest of the weekend against the White Sox. 6:40 first pitch for that game tonight.
Number 5.
What did the 5 fingers say to the face? Slap!
Maybe all Rory needed to do was win one Masters, and then that monkey's off the bat, and then he'll just win every Masters the rest of the way. My gosh, he's been
That's the Big Show's Top 5 at 5 on KTGR.
Or text us here at 875 KTGR. It's 3 under for the day for him, and he's not quite done. That goes with a 5 under from yesterday, and so we'll see what that means for Rory. But it's been pretty competitive up near the top. Patrick Reed has really come on strong here late in the day. Sam Burns is still hanging around. Tommy Fleetwood, Justin Rose, Shane Lowry. It's still kind of crowded near the top. But Rory has seemed, there have been times where he's created some separation over in Augusta over the last 24 hours or so. We'll see if that holds. I believe Brendan's joining us on the KTGR hotline. On the field at Busch, is that correct?
On the field, waiting momentarily to speak with Wilson Contreras. So if I hang up, it's not that I got the dump button hit on me. It's that I got to go to Wilson Contreras. But I had to call in because I heard you're talking Masters and not giving enough love to my guy Tommy Fleetwood, who has 2 eagles on the day. Let's go.
Great. It's pretty great.
Love it.
I mean, yeah, on 8 and on 15. I told you he was going to be your best guy. He might still be that. But
Patrick Reed, Tommy Fleetwood, if they can both take me to the promised land, not only do I have a chance in the Masters draft, I have a sick parlay that's going to hit. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, I mean, maybe the update on that. First of all, the producers are in trouble, unfortunately, for them. Now, maybe not as much trouble as they would have been. Akshay Bhatia is right on the line. He just birdied on 17 though, so now he's above the cut line for now. But he was underneath there for a little bit.
Bobby Mack, no good for Bobby Mack today.
Bobby Mack, oh man, Bobby Mack's had a rough couple days. Flipped off the green at 15 after he carded a 9.
You can't do that at Augusta. Am I wrong?
No, he's gonna get fined or something. Like it's already punished. You can't really punish him for the tournament because he's out of the tournament now. He's not making the cut. And so yeah, the producers are gonna have at least him missing, and then that's the only one the producers have. Looks like for me, JJ Spawn's gonna miss just by that one stroke.
Who's my biggest loser? I don't remember what the scores are off the top of my head.
Well, right now it's John Rahm, who is at 4 over.
Oh, John! He played better today, though. He was 2 under.
He's probably going to make it, though. He's probably safe.
I have a chance here to get everybody through.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, because Bryson birdied recently. He has a chance to, unless he implodes last couple holes. I don't know what he's doing right now.
Oh, my goodness.
You've got a lane there to get everybody through, buddy.
It's amazing. I never would have thought that as of like 24 hours ago.
Yeah, it was looking kind of tough. But yeah, that looks like John Rahm, Bryson DeChambeau going to do just enough for you to get everybody in there. Now, we'll see what that means for the whole tournament. Obviously, the producers and I have some work to do. Maybe if one of us gets the winner, then it offsets some of the blow. But no, it should be fun. I am really hoping that we at least see, because Scotty Scheffler at even right now, I wonder if like a great day on Saturday just makes everybody spooked and is like, oh, dang it, here he comes.
He needs a 5 under type of round after hitting it into the water a couple of times today. I was rooting for him, and I hated to see the struggles that he had out there. But like you said, he's at even, so he's still in the mix. And the problem is Rory probably doesn't feel the shadows anymore. You know what I mean? Like, there's not this threat, I think, of him imploding because he's now been there, done that, and there's a lot of weight off his shoulders, as you said. So I don't know. I'm hoping Fleetwood can maybe pull one out, but Rory is obviously the front runner at present.
Okay. Brendan's joining us from Busch Stadium real quick, and he's waiting for Wilson Contreras. And while we have him,
yeah.
What?
Well, I also got to say I'm near enough to Zach Sweet if you want me to get his thoughts on Mizzou, Kansas moving to Friday night.
He's there.
Saturday.
He's right next to you.
He's writing baseball these days. And just walked around, but I had to make a little joke about that given his history with the Jayhawks. But yes, while you had me, what's the most pressing thing on your heart right now, Andy, before Wilson Contreras ruins everything?
You can tackle that. You can tackle what you think about the Mizzou, Kansas Friday night fever game, or you can tackle Dustin May, whichever you want.
Okay, well, I'm going to wait to tackle Dustin May until a little bit later, I think, because it's just you don't even want to talk to the starter on the day of him pitching. So to tackle him pregame would definitely be no good.
Yeah, I mean,
so we'll stay away from that. Let me mention the Friday game. Is there a conspiracy? Is the thought that it's going to be tougher for Tigers fans to travel from Columbia on a work day, and so they're going to try to avoid the takeover at what do they call it? The booth over there? I don't even know what they call that stadium, but is that the thought? Like, what do we think about the Friday thing? Because that kind of came out of left field for me today.
No, I think it did for a lot of people, and deservedly so. I can't help but think, like, Kansas is going to be cool with this change, right? They're fine. They're not going to push back from it, but I think it's initiated by the Big 12 above anybody else because they just want their Friday games. Like they're trying, they've lined up a bunch between like week 2 and week 12 or whatever it is. They've even got a Thursday game in there. Like that's who's, I think, initiating the change. Kansas isn't going to push back because their benefits kind of align with what the Big 12's benefits are with that. And then Mizzou, I guess it's just kind of along for the ride for it. It's not to say that like they would, if they had said no, that the Big 12 wouldn't have listened, but like it's kind of a more of like, hey, let's give you a heads up on this. If you have any major issues with it, we can discuss it. But it's probably something that, since the Big 12 controls the game, it's something that they would be able to do anyway.
And maybe the Big 12 isn't like too concerned with Missouri's thoughts and feelings on many things anymore. Not to say that, it's still bad blood from originally Mizzou leaving the conference, but maybe it is, that did create a lot of havoc for those guys, which they seem to have rebounded well as a conference, as a league. But yeah, I think you're probably right. If the Big 12 had anything to say about it, for Mizzou, it's just kind of courtesy to go, hey, here's when you play, be there on time. But I don't know that the Tigers side of it necessarily had, a big say in it. I'll be curious, I don't guess that this afternoon Eli Drinkwitz has had any public comments other than if there was a statement, but I'd be curious to see in a candid setting, maybe what his thoughts on the whole thing would be, if he would lean into talking about it, or if he would play it just very straight down the line, since you respect your opponents, etc.
Yeah. I mean, looking at his Twitter, just making sure that we know where his Twitter is, obviously. He has only retweeted Mizzou football's posts on this.
Okay.
And then like Mizzou had a post on their website about it, and there were no statements from anybody in it. It was just laying out the details. And that is a difference from when they announced the move of the football game, of the opening game, to Thursday. They usually come with statements from either Drinkwitz or Laird Veach or both. And so like they control that move, and so they have more of a chance to say something about it. This move, they don't control as much, and so they're kind of along for the ride. So we'll see what happens there with that. But all right, I think that's mainly what it. Like, again, I believe that Mizzou fans that weren't planning on going to the game might be like, "Hey, cool," but ones that were, oh shoot, we gotta change up our plans a little bit.
Yeah, and like you haven't bought tickets yet, so because like they haven't become available. I don't really think from a season like a single game perspective. So I think it's probably just kind of what it is, and hopefully people are able to now adjust the work schedule, knowing that it's still September we're talking about here. So take the day. I mean, I think it's important to still try and take over that stadium and have a good showing. I think there's going to be more excitement for the Mizzou football program than Kansas, but their people will be excited for this game, I think. So I would love to see some black and gold take over there in Lawrence on the other side of the border.
It'll be a very interesting game. So a game that is very clearly important to Mizzou fans, getting moved, and maybe not necessarily at what they wanted it to see, but we'll see how Mizzou adjusts to it. Okay, so what does Dustin May need to do, Brendan, to settle down?
Well, it's a fair question. He's pitched to a lot of contact. I think he's been maybe a little bit uncomfortable at times with maybe the plan of attack and how it needs to be handled. But I also think that can be something to be expected when you're a new pitcher in a new place, working with the catchers, trying to figure out those things. He talked about after the last game wanting to get with Dusty Blake and kind of figure out the plan, the sequencing, and how they want to attack certain hitters. The Red Sox are a team that's coming in that has not played great baseball to this point in the season. And so maybe the game plan for Dustin May is, hey, you've got some familiarity with these guys from playing for them last year, know some of those tendencies and try to exploit them. But Andy, I guess the same could be true for the other side. The guys that have familiarity with Dustin May from last year will be facing him in a game that counts, not just practice or spring training or things of that nature.
Yeah, and again, if Dustin May's pitches are a little more hittable in a small sample size, of course, than they were in past years, then maybe that does spell some trouble. I mean, again, though, it's very clear that the velocity is up in pretty much all of his pitches. It's just a matter of again, if he is needing to take that approach of pitching to contact so that he can stay on schedule, not have to expend so many pitches in any given outing, is he able to mix up his sequencing a little bit better? Maybe that's it. Maybe he's got to have a better plan at that. And, of course, that's mainly on him, but also kind of we'll see how the catchers decide to call it there too. How Dustin May can try and bounce back in a game like this, where again familiarity can play on both sides. But again, I want to see him break out of this as soon as possible, because we see that those metrics are a little bit better for him. So those underlying stats, and you're like, okay, you're encouraged by some of this. He's still getting a few strikeouts here and there, but again, maybe not as many bats missed as he would have liked at this part of the season.
Yeah, there's just been a lot of contact against him, and I feel like when things are not maybe favorable with pitchers' counts, you're not pitching from ahead on the mound, and so you begin to maybe revert back to just making sure you're getting the ball over because pitchers hate walking guys. So I feel like with that combination of factors, he's ended up in some situations where he's maybe become a little bit predictable, Andy, in some of the more hitter-friendly counts.
Yeah, and so we'll see if Dustin May can control that and be able to mix it up a little bit better against these Red Sox hitters. Safe to say, when you're opening up a homestand and you've got Cardinals fans who maybe saw how this team has done over 12 games, like, okay, maybe that's a brand of baseball that you can be proud of and maybe want to go and check out yourself. And I would have to think that this game's probably going to be pretty well attended. Maybe not the hugest attendance number, but I mean, when you're facing a high-profile team like the Red Sox, and there are former guys like Wilson Contreras and Sonny Gray, even though he's not pitching this weekend, like it's still guys there that you're familiar with that all of a sudden you get to see here once again. Like, this seems like it could be a pretty good environment all 3 days for a series like this, and for the Cardinals to have that type of stage would be pretty important to get a series win there.
Yeah, I think just keeping up what they've been able to do so far at home, right, with the 4-2 record before they went out over on the road trip. They're a 7-5 team right now, so above 500, and the Red Sox are a team coming in below 500. And you also, Andy, in terms of the strategical aspects of the series, avoid Garrett Crochet and Sonny Gray, as you mentioned, pitching in the series. So you don't have maybe the top two starters that you would line up if you were Boston, saying like this series is one that's a must win. Nobody has the luxury to do that in April. It's kind of you get what you get, and the rotation is where the rotation is. So I think that could play to the Cardinals' benefit as well. It's not to say that the Red Sox don't have a deep rotation. The Cardinals will still have to do their homework and be able to come up with good efforts against rookie Connolly Early that's going today, has some good early season numbers and is a lefty, so that changed the look of the Cardinal lineup a little bit. I know Brian Bayo pitching in Game 3, so like there's some guys with some name credibility attached to them, some young players that are on the rise in the league. But yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons that if the Cardinals continue to play their game, Andy, as we've seen them do through the first dozen games of the season, that they could show well in this series. And a home environment, I think, is something that they want to continue to play well here to do exactly what you're talking about, getting more fans in the building and excited about the brand of baseball that they want to play this season.
Yeah, because I don't think the fans will really care that the Red Sox have not started well. First of all, like the fact that it's so early and you're not sure what to think of, really strong starts or really weak beginnings to the season that the teams have shown so far. Like, you're seeing Red Sox across the name and you're like, okay, if the Cardinals beat that team, a team that we kind of see as one that has a lot of good young talent and should be there challenging for playoff spots towards the end, even though they're in a tough division, like beating that team in a series, I think can even turn a few more heads, more so than maybe even what the first weekend homestand did a couple of weeks ago for the Cardinals. Like, you're beating somebody that is expected to be in the mix for playoff contention in the AL and like holding your own there. And look, every weekend series you have to take with a grain of salt, but early on, getting fans to buy into what this Cardinals team can use to their advantage and compete against other teams like this is kind of also a battle that the organization is wanting to make sure they win. Series win can also do that and be very good towards that battle too.
Oh, I totally agree. And what you're saying about the Red Sox is something I agree with as well, that it goes beyond the record. It's a legacy franchise that you certainly, anytime those matchups happen, and now they do happen with more frequency due to the change that they have made with interleague play. But still, you only get the Red Sox coming to Busch like every other year, pretty much. So I think this is an opportunity, and the Wilson Contreras of it all. I think people are pretty excited about that as well. I am down here on the field, and we're still waiting to get a chance to talk with Wilson as he goes through his pregame routine defensively over at first base. But before he walked over there, Andy, him and Ollie Marmol had a great embrace and caught up quickly. And Ollie was telling us reporters before the game that Wilson was a guy that he continued to text with even after the trade went down, and obviously holds him in a very high regard. So, like, it's kind of cool to see that, relationship, the reunion happen so early in this season as the Cardinals have embarked upon, kind of the new era where they had to make some of the moves that they made in the offseason in order to get to where they are and where they want to go. But by the same token, I think Wilson Contreras is pretty much universally respected around here. So it'll be kind of a fun little side quest for the weekend series.
Yeah, he probably likes his team better than the Brewers, just a little bit, maybe a little bit better.
And that is my one wish for the series is that nobody, you got to go inside, you got to pitch them inside, but that there will be no extracurriculars when it comes to him, because I want it to just be a good homecoming that everybody can feel good about, and that's a fiery player on the other side. So you certainly got to be aware that he's going to bring in 100% and try to help his current team win. You'd expect nothing less from him.
That's for sure. We'll see. It should be a fun series. I think they'll win this one, lose tomorrow, but then they'll get it done on Sunday when Andre Palante's on the hill. I think
an interesting homestand too. Like two American League teams coming in. The Guardians are playing really well in the AL Central, as the Royals fans are aware. So, I mean, this will be a really interesting test for the Cardinals over the next 6 games.
All right. Do we have to let you go, Brendan? Do we have to let you get to Wilson, or are you?
Yeah, I think Wilson's going to be coming anytime soon, but if I can check back in, I'll make sure to do that.
Okay, very good. Well, we'll be here until 5:45, of course, when Mizzou baseball gets underway here in just a little bit. But great to hear the Busch Stadium ground level type analysis from Brendan Schaefer.
If you can call it that, yeah.
Well, you get extra analysis just from standing on the blades of grass. Like I've heard that.
But my shoes are getting dirty, and I wore white shoes. I wasn't thinking.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That was
yep.
That was tough. Yep. Take care, Brendan. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, boys.
All right. Big show. 5:24. That's Brendan joining us from Busch Stadium there. Yeah, I mean, we'll see if it can mean better returns for a guy like Dustin May if he's facing guys that he's familiar with, but then that does kind of work against him when a lineup gets to see him multiple times through, and whether they can do some damage against him as well. Let's go out to the KTGR hotline once again. Who is this?
This is Andy.
Andy, you're on the big show.
Yeah, I'm. This is a resident Brewers fan, and I hope that Wilson gets punked several times.
And well, at least you weren't on for Brendan to hear that. I think that's maybe the best thing. I understand that there's consternation there. Now, like that's kind of weird. I'm curious your thoughts on it. Is it weird that Wilson has those feelings even though his own brother is on the team?
I think it's wild. I love the brotherhood there, but it's pretty crazy to see that he has such hatred towards the Brewers. So
it's weird, the juxtaposition there. Andy, appreciate the call here on the Big Show, KTGR and the KTGR app. Yes, very good thing that Wilson had such good years. I'm sure years that he's fond of when he was playing here in St. Louis. And again, it's the business. Cardinals needed to make that move when they had the chance to get some assets and try to load up on some pitching prospects that can work. And so that's how it ended up for Wilson Contreras going to Boston and having a team that is maybe more likely to be in postseason play than the Cardinals are. And again, not to poo-poo what the Cardinals have done to this point, because they've been, I think, pretty impressive considering the circumstances, and they're playing a brand of baseball that you like to see. It's just, we'll see how sustainable it is through 162. But again, if you win this weekend, and there will be a lot of fans there, like that starts to creep back into the minds of Cardinals fans that maybe were leaning more towards apathy over the last few years. And I wouldn't blame fans for feeling that way because of how this team has gone about their business. But now with a new regime, and they clearly have a plan laid out, we don't know if that plan's going to work, but at least there is one, and it makes more sense to us. And so we'll see what the Cardinals decide, or not decide, how they can maybe take advantage of a weekend like this, where there were probably a few more fans saying, oh, they're playing the Red Sox. That's a pretty high-profile team. Maybe that's a series that I'll spend a weekend going to catch those games, one or two of them. I think winning more games than not in this weekend can create more inroads to those fans to kind of buy back in. We'll see if the Cardinals can get it done and how Dustin May can look in his outing tonight. Again, coverage begins at 6:20 for Cardinals baseball on 100.5 FM, on 105.1 and 1580, and on the KTGR app. You'll hear Mizzou baseball as the Tigers play South Carolina tonight with first pitch at 6 o'clock. We'll get you coverage to that pretty soon. In the meantime, we'll take a break. We'll talk more about the Masters and what we could potentially see this weekend from Mizzou basketball in the transfer portal. All next here on The Big Show.
This the latest edition of The Big Show. Catch up on demand with a full show podcast on the KTGR app. Download it now wherever you get your apps.
Hi, everyone. Andy Humphrey here for Advanced Tree Solutions, and they want to remind you that coming up later this month is Arbor Day, Friday, April 24th. It's a great time to remind yourself of how important our trees are and how important it is to care for them, because over 15 billion trees, yes, billion with a B, get cut down each year. And obviously growing new trees is a very long process. So Advanced Tree Solutions doesn't just cut the trees, but they care for them. They can have them grow back stronger each and every year, diagnosing what's wrong with them, telling you what the best plan is for your trees going forward. And Eric is excellent to work with. He can come to your home and tell you what your trees need. And of course, if you want new trees planted, you can ask him about that too. So go to AdvancedTreeSolutionsLLC.com and keep your trees in mind as we get closer to Arbor Day, Friday, April 24th. Go to Advanced Tree Solutions and see what Eric and his team can do for you. AdvancedTreeSolutionsLLC.com.
We're trying to save people money. Go.
What if we cut sandwiches into thirds instead of halves?
We could stop buying warranties and just hope.
What about switching our toilet paper to half ply?
You.
It doesn't take a terrible think tank to save money. Just shop at Family Pawn. They've got jewelry, electronics, tools, and gifts for way less. No sacrifices, no half-ply TP. Ugh.
Not your traditional pawn shop. Family Pawn.
You've seen the trucks. You've heard the name, but there still seems to be some confusion. Huh? So let's settle this once and for all. Yes, Steve from Steve's Pest Control is a real guy. Okay, sure. I'll believe in Steve when I see a termite riding a unicorn. Time to squash those rumors, like Steve squashes spiders. Steve's Pest Control isn't some big corporate chain, and they're not some call center based in the land of make-believe. Steve's Pest Control is a locally owned, family-operated company. From ants to termites, bedbugs to wasps, Steve's crew handles it all with precision and a dash of Midwestern charm.
Hi, I'm Steve with Steve's Pest Control.
There it is, proof of Steve's existence. So don't waste your time calling the not-so-local guys and call your friends at Steve's Pest Control. Local, legendary, and 100% real.
We're going to solve your pest problem. I guarantee it.
Now you got a friend in the pest control business. Steve's Pest Control.
What happens when a chef, two pharmacists, and a financial analyst walk into a bar? They buy it. And then they tell people from all walks of life to come enjoy it with them. Big flavors, bigger burgers, local brews, handcrafted drinks, and a game of pool or two. See, Billiards was built by people like you. A teacher, a receptionist, and a cashier walk into Billiards. What happens next is up to you.
Looking on down for burgers and beer. Billiards on Broadway.
Call your shot at BilliardsOnBroadway.com.
totally changed my life.
It's amazing. I don't have any cravings. You want to quit, but have found it impossible? This is the thing for you. I have absolutely no craving. It's the darndest thing I have ever seen in my life.
It's not for entertainment. It's for results.
Do it. It works, period.
You've tried everything else. You need to come and try this.
Lose weight or stop smoking with hypnosis, guaranteed only $59.99 or your money back. Don't just cut down, but stop smoking once and for all. Stop smoking hypnosis 8 p.m. Thursday, April 23rd at the Capitol Plaza Hotel in Jeff City, or 2 p.m. on Saturday, April 25th at the Courtyard by Marriott in Columbia. Register 30 minutes before. Stop smoking hypnosis 8 p.m. Thursday, April 23rd at the Capitol Plaza Hotel in Jeff City, or 2 p.m. on Saturday, April 25th at the Courtyard by Marriott in Columbia. Sign up at markpatrickseminars.com.
Do-it-yourself projects are getting a lot more popular, and that's great. Some things you gotta leave to the pros, like welding. Think of it like watching your favorite team and yelling at the guy who biffed the play that you so easily could have made. No, you couldn't, or you'd be out there doing it. Leave the sports to the pros and the welding to Kretsch's Custom Exteriors. Repair work to custom fabrication. Kretsch's Custom Exteriors. True beauty is on the outside. Kretsch'sCustomExteriors.com.
They can't shoot it straight on the golf course, but they can shoot straight on the biggest sports stories in mid-Missouri. Back to Andy and Brendan on The Big Show on KTGR.
Well, within the last 15 minutes, major developments in the Big Show Masters draft and the standings, you'd have to think. Bryson DeChambeau, for the second time in 2 days, couldn't dig himself out of a bunker with his 3D printed wedges or whatever he's got. I guess it's the 5. It's not the wedges. But still, tripled on 18, and now he's going to miss the cut at 6 over. Projected cut is at 4 over par right now. Oh, my goodness. Well, looks like Brendan is going to have someone who misses the cut after all. All three of our teams, my team, Brendan's team, and the producers are going to have at least one golfer miss the cut. It looks like the producers are going to have 2, unfortunately for them, because Akshay Bhatia just doubled on 18, and now he's going to miss at 6 over. They also have Robert McIntyre. My guy, JJ Spawn, is going to miss the cut. But boy, oh boy. So there's that development. Bryson bringing down Brendan's team closer to everybody else's by having that triple on 18 and missing the cut for that. And then Rory now has a 5-stroke lead. He was up by a stroke not even 15 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago. That was it. He was at 8 under, and now he's at 11 under. 3 birdies in a row. And then Patrick Reed, Sam Burns, they're still kind of sitting at 6 under par. They're in the clubhouse now. Rory's on 18 at the moment. But things are looking a little better for me all of a sudden because I got Rory. And trying to get that 10-stroke bonus for picking the winner. Maybe that could be the difference here. It's going to be very interesting because I've got Rory and Justin Rose is at 500, very strong there too. Some of my other guys have maybe dropped off a little bit. Ludwig Goldberg was looking pretty good early, but is kind of tapered off. He had a good day today, but yesterday was rough for him. He's at even par. Morikawa, better day today. He's 1 under. And then the only other guy I have left is Victor Hovland, who just birdied again. He's at 1 over par. He's definitely going to make it. He had started off rough yesterday, but going to be above water for this one. Brendan has Patrick Reed, beg your pardon, Tommy Fleetwood. He's also got Chris Goddard, who I think like that under the radar going to help out Brendan's team immensely so far with the 3 under that he's put up for the tournament to this point. So that's helping him. He's got Matt Fitzpatrick also is at 1 under. And then John Rahm is down there. He's going to make the cut, but he's at 4 over par. He's right on the line. He should still be playing this weekend, but does need to kind of pick it up. And then, unfortunately for the producers, I think the fact that they're going to have 2 players miss the cut is going to tank them enough. Even though they've got Cam Young at 4 under and Hideki at 3 under, Shoffley's at 2 under, and then they had the first pick and took Scotty Scheffler, but he's at even par at the moment. He can always just wake up and take the tournament away. But my gosh, the way that Rory's hitting it right now, he's 6 under for the day after shooting a 67 yesterday. And we'll see what he does on 18 as he finishes up. I mean, things are looking pretty good for Rory once again. Maybe he just needed to win 1 Masters, and now he's no longer nervous at the Masters. He's fine. Good to go to win the rest of those tournaments. Maybe that's the case. We'll see. But all of that happened. Friday can be kind of wild. Right at the end, when players are trying to make the cut. But Bryson he was in. He was fine. 3 over par. You're gonna play this weekend. Just don't completely implode on 18. Well, triple on 18. Tough. So we'll see how he recovers from that, what he says afterwards. He kind of scoffed at a question of I don't know if it was a ridiculous question or not, but a reporter asked him about the process of how long it takes to get a 3D printed club from start to finish. And he walked through the process just briefly, but said it takes, about a day and a half. And then the reporter was like, so are you going to make another one for this tournament? Have it be ready to go for you? And he's like, what? I mean, he loves talking about his 3D printed golf clubs. I figured he'd welcome every question that was pertaining to that, but did not seem to welcome that one. We'll see how the Masters shakes out this weekend. One of the best weekends in sports. Enjoy it. Call or text us at 875-KTGR. Mizzou baseball coverage coming up in a few minutes. This weekend could also bring some, maybe some transfer portal news for Mizzou basketball. Who knows? Reports out there, they are going to get former Kansas Jayhawk Bryson Tiller on campus. So we'll see how that goes. But, I mean, if you're trying to forecast commitments at this point, you had to set an over-under for just this weekend. Maybe how many we know about by the time next week's show on Monday begins. I don't know. Where would you set it at? Maybe 1.5? Who knows? That'd be kind of nice if you surpass that number. It would certainly signal a good start. You want to get at least 1 or 2 somewhat early in the process, maybe the first week, so you can build that type of momentum. The longer that you're in on guys, sometimes it feels like the longer that process goes with any one particular recruit, maybe it doesn't necessarily go your way, and it allows for another team to maybe swoop in and get your guy. I don't know. Everybody's different. It's hard to forecast that. But it maybe seems pretty important that this weekend, the first weekend that you can have visits, that Mizzou lands one. And you don't have to land a guy that's going to be taking a visit. You can obviously have someone commit, and they don't have to come and see the campus. They can just know what they need to know. And then maybe it's someone who's already familiar with Mizzou in that sense. And based off familiarity, they can make that decision and say, hey, yeah, I'm cool. Let's go. So it's not like that's the only guy that could commit this weekend, Bryson Tiller, because he's reportedly going to make that visit. It could be anybody. You never know sometimes that guys could be on Mizzou's radar, and then all of a sudden they see they put up the graphic and they're like, hey, I'm coming to Mizzou. And you're like, oh, wow. You never knew that they were going to be connected in that way. So we'll see. But I feel it is pretty important that we talk to you again on Monday's big show at 4:00, that we are at least talking about Dennis Gates getting one recruit. It's not to say that it would make or break his transfer portal season. If he doesn't get one, you can still make up for it in the later stages of the transfer portal. But, this weekend's get on the board, See how that goes for Dennis Gates and company as they look to retool the roster for next season and what will be a very highly anticipated season at Mizzou Arena. We thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you again at 4 o'clock on Monday. A reminder of what you can hear programming-wise tonight. You'll hear Mizzou baseball coming up in a few minutes, and on 100.5 FM, you'll be able to hear Cardinals baseball starting at 6:20 as the Cardinals take on the Red Sox. First pitch at 7:15. We'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us. I'm Andy. We're done for now.